So even so if you have a small community group or something like that, you might have a paid for account, or you might get one from work. But if you were to actually have a Zoom poll, what you need to do is you start off by going into the meetings section. So if you log into Zoom, you go to Zoom meetings and you schedule a meeting. And then once you've scheduled the meeting, say for example, we've got a meeting at 5 o'clock for an hour. So then we would fill that in, and then you save the meeting, and then you go back into it, and then you scroll down, and then you can add you create a poll at the bottom. And then in so doing, once you've created the poll and connected it to a particular meeting, when you actually go to run the session, at the bottom there's a toolbar which says polls, and then you can select that poll from there. So polls are another way of saying quizzes. So it's a quiz, it's a multiple choice. Say, for example, it might be relevant. You could say, what is your favorite type of food out of like 6 options? So then you can select which one electronically and click, yes, that's my option, that's my option, that's my option. And then you get the results from a group of people that you're working with. And it can be a fun way to sort of make the experience more interactive, and is easier than sort of asking people to all unmute yourself and tell us what you like, for example. So polls are really good tool. One thing I would also say, similar to breakout rooms, you need to make sure your Zoom settings are turned on, because if you haven't turned on the setting within Zoom to enable breakout rooms, you won't actually be able to turn it on. So there is a little video here, and I think we should actually watch this one, and hopefully it will make a little more sense.
Zoom, it is really quick and easy. Go to my account, and then you go to your meetings, and your scheduled meetings will come up here. You click on edit on the meeting which you wish to add the polls into. Scroll all the way down to the bottom, and it might seem weird, but click save to begin with. Don't edit anything here. But then once you get onto this page, this is when you scroll down, and you'll be able to add in a poll here right at the bottom. So you click add, and you just pop in the title, and you pop in the question which you need to get an answer to. Just a quick and easy question here as an example. You've got the single choice or multiple choice answers. We will just go for a quick and easy yes or no. Then you click save, and it will appear down here at the bottom, and you can edit this, and as well as deleting it. And then once you're in Zoom, is when you want to actually launch the poll. So you launch you're in your session, this is an example, and you click polls, which as a host you'll have down in the bottom area there. So your polls will come up here, and you can click which one. So we did number 4, and you click launch polls, and your attendees will be able to view it and give your opinion, give their answers, and then you click end poll. So it really is quick and simple.
Fantastic. So I can see we've got a couple of comments in the chat. Okay, so no, there's nothing on this. So how did everyone find that? Does anyone have any questions before we move on? Feel free to unmute yourself or pop anything in the chat.
Tara, I am sorry to interrupt from time to time, but sometimes we use a bit of Gujarati as well for some of our people who may want that clarification. So just polling no earth em thai ke tamara abhiप्राय શું છે એટલે અમુક વાર તમને ક્વેશ્ચન્સ પૂછવાના હોય ને ત્યારે પોલિંગ ક્વેશ્ચન્સ મૂકીએ અને આજે તારા has got to later on polling questions કે તમારું એજ ગ્રુપ શું છે કારણ કે એ લોકોને એનાલાઇઝ થોડું કરવું પડે ને so that will come a bit later but that's what polling is all about કે તમને કેવું અને આપણે તારા સાથે ઘણી વાર કર્યું છે where you always then accept and say yes no or whatever your opinion is so that's the way to do polling as we saw the video and as Tara explained to us. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Smita. But don't hesitate to ask me questions as we go through it. So that's sort of a brief recap on Zoom. And that video we just watched and the 1-2 breakout rooms are actually available on our website, as are the slides that do the step-by-step. So we're now going to look at social media, which is quite a big chunk of what we're looking at today. There's lots of terminology, so hopefully it doesn't overwhelm you, but we will go through it stage by stage. And as I said, everything's available afterwards. So what we're going to look at today is Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. So I think all of us recognize these symbols in pretty much everywhere. You'll see Facebook symbols. So if you have an email from a company, for example, they'll always have their links to their Twitter, their Instagram, their TikTok, etc., etc. So we have, sorry, the door, someone's knocking on the door. My husband isn't opening it, so please ignore that noise. Sorry. So who is reached by each platform? So as you can see, the blue represents Facebook, and across all age group, Facebook has has probably the most consistent sort of user base. And Twitter is highest amongst the younger generations. All social media platforms are higher amongst the younger generations, but Twitter and Instagram especially. And TikTok is very much a young person's, well, it's still popular and it's gaining popularity. So TikTok is represented by the yellow in this. So 28% of sort of young people are on TikTok. So Facebook is great for targeting older groups, and it's great for holding and advertising events, getting in touch with small groups, charities and organizations. So I wonder amongst us here, would anyone like to share an instance of where they found out about an event on Facebook? Feel free to unmute yourself or write it in the chat. Have you ever been invited to an event via Facebook?
તમે લોકોને જો કઈ questions હોય ને ખ્યાલ ના આવતો હોય તો feel free to ask. પણ as we all know કે Facebook ઉપર જ હવે email ને બધું તો જરાય popular નથી રહ્યું. So Facebook અને Instagram, Twitter એનાથી જ બધું કામ ચાલતું હોય છે. So તારાનો question છે કે તમને કાંઈ event કોઈ વખત કોઈ રાખ્યો હોય અને Facebook through તમને invitation આવ્યું હોય, તમારામાંથી I don't know કેટલા Facebook કે social media accounts વાપરે છે, કારણ કે આપણે TikTok મુનિરાબેને sponsor કર્યું ત્યારે આપણે કર્યું હતું TikTok with Tara અને આ બીજા આપણે detailમાં કરવાના છે in future. But if you want to share તમારું account છે કે નહીં Facebookમાં આમાંથી કયા કયા, તો that will really help as the session progresses with Tara.
Oh, it's absolutely fine.
Smita
There's no
Ben.
pressure.
હા બોલો ભૂપેનભાઈ.
સ્મિતા બેન,
હા, go ahead.
ચંદ્રકાંત બોલું છું બ્રાઇટન થી.
હા, ચંદ્રકાંતભાઈ, go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, Twitter, Facebook and Instagram, એનું જરીક explanation આપશો કે how it works and what is the difference between all of them?
Okay, so we will look at the differences. So in terms of Facebook, one of the benefits I would say is it's quite good to stay in touch with small groups and to invite people to events. Twitter is great for engaging with people far and wide, and it's quite good for like conversations and discussions. Instagram is very visual, it's picture based, and you can advertise products or services. It's great for targeting younger groups. TikTok is very visual, it's video based, and it's great for targeting younger groups and learning about new trends. So I've got something in the comments. Okay, that's fine. So
Okay, how do you set up all these things like Facebook, Twitters, Instagram? For an ordinary person, I mean, who is not very computer literate, how do they set it up?
okay, so all of these are for free. Instagram is an app, you would download it. And once you download it, so you on your phone, you'll have access to the App Store. So you would need to go to the App Store on your phone, download it, and then it will ask you to enter in your email address and a password. And it will sort of guide you through it step by step. But the first thing you need to do is actually download Instagram. And in terms of Twitter and Facebook, they're available as apps on your phone. But if you prefer using a laptop or a desktop, you can actually sort of go on to literally Google facebook.com and actually create an account step by step.
So that's thank you for clarifying, because a lot of people might not know what it means. That's the reason I asked the question.
No, that's absolutely fine. We're all at different stages in our learning. And I think I was one of the people who was very late to join Instagram, for example. I was like years later than everybody else. But one day I said, I actually should set this up, and I actually ended up loving it, and it's taken up quite a lot of my free time. So I feel like there's pluses and minuses to all social media. You have to be disciplined, or else you can spend a lot of time on it. There is someone in the chat has said that they thought they had to be careful with Instagram. Would you mind elaborating on that? So the person's name is put down as F. I'm happy to elaborate on answer the question. So in terms of all, feel free to speak.
It's okay. We can come back to it, Tara. It's fine.
That's fine. Not a problem. And if you feel like elaborating, you can do. But I think with all social media, there is a sort of an element of being cautious, because what we say in a conversation now is a conversation now. But the problem with social media is that, say, for example, you had a conversation with someone on Twitter, 10 years later, there'll still be a record of that. And I think in terms of people in the political sphere, they've got in trouble, basically. As you see on the news that someone made a comment or someone liked something from years ago, and it sort of created problems for them in the now. So just be mindful that social media is very much in the public domain, whereas we can have a conversation with 20 people. Once you put something online, it is available to the public. Although on Facebook, you can amend your settings, for example, but by and large, it's far more public than what you would normally sort of engage with. So a URL. So sometimes you hear people say, oh, the URL is. So the URL is the website link. So for example, www.nearneighbours.org.uk. When we talk about social media and the audience, we're talking about those you're engaging with. So that could be, if you're a business, that's your customer. But if you're an individual, that might be your friends and family. If you're a community group, it might be community members, for example. A blog is it's like a regularly updated web page. So you can almost think of it, some of them, they used to be more like a diary entry, because a blog is a weblog. So if you hear people referring to a blog, someone was blogging about something, it's almost like an informal extract or just a written written diary entry is more what I see it as, but they're different, they vary in style. So what you'll hear is hear about, say, for example, a social media influencer's blog. So what they're saying is that they have almost like a message out to their fans, for example. A news feed, or sometimes referred to as the feed, is when you log into Facebook, for example, you log into Twitter, it will come up with all these different posts that are a combination of what you have sort of connected and joined to and what Facebook or Instagram or Twitter wants to show you based on what you've been looking at. So they have something called algorithms where they try and actually give you more of what you like and recommend things to you. So they say, for example, you are into a particular style of makeup or clothing. It intuitively knows you like this kind of material, let's give you more of that. So that's what the feed is. It's a sort of it is like having a newspaper, and it's showing you everything that's going on based on what you're liking.
Hi, can I ask a question about Twitter, please?
Yes, of course.
Do you have to have a Twitter account to see what somebody else has tweeted? Or do you have to be friends with them like in Facebook?
So in Twitter, it depends on that person's Twitter settings, which makes it a little bit more if their Twitter account is public, you can view it without an account, but usually you would actually need an account. And sometimes, so someone may choose to have a slightly higher privacy account, and then that way you can't see what they've written. There's also so when it comes to Twitter, you can, if say for example, I am using a hashtag. So we're going to cover hashtags later, but essentially a hashtag is often referred to as the waffle symbol. Is, say for example, I want my comments. So we at Near Neighbours did stuff for Interfaith Week. So what we would do is whenever we were discussing anything to Interfaith Week and things we've done, we would use hashtag Interfaith Week. So what that means is if I was to search for, you know, when like on Google, you search for keywords. So within social media sites, you can search for keywords, terms or phrases. So to make people be able to find your comments and to be part of that conversation. So there may be 10,000 people who have who've done the same hashtag Interfaith Week. If you were to sort of connect to that hashtag, you could see everything to do with that. So so in terms of how private or not private it is, it depends on whether they've included hashtags and whether they've got high privacy. So it's not a straightforward yes or no, unfortunately. Sorry about that. I'm not sure how you pronounce your name. Bachu, is it? Feel free to unmute yourself.
Okay.
Yep. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Thank you.
Okay. Feel free to ask a question if you've got any. Oh, I can see Nilesh is asking about if we've ever done a video about setting up a Zoom meeting and sending the link to another person. We haven't, but what we can do is I'm going to go back in this presentation. So we're going back a step. Sorry, guys. So when you schedule a meeting here, oh, no, I haven't got a screenshot for it. That's really annoying. Sorry. I was going to show you. So we don't have a video on how to share a Zoom link. So what I can do is Laura will take your mailing, your name, and if we have your email address, we can send you a sort of step-by-step guide on how to do that. And that's not a problem. That's absolutely fine. We're happy to do that. So if you do have questions and I don't have the slides for it, we're happy to answer them in an email later on. Unfortunately, because of the way Zoom is, I can't show you Zoom whilst in Zoom, it tends to crash. Or else I could show you how to do it right here. But at the bottom of the Zoom toolbar, there is usually the invite button. So and then you can copy and paste the link. But I will answer that as an email. Thank you so much, Nilesh. And like anyone else, feel free to add questions in the chat, and me and Laura will gladly answer them later on. So in terms of Facebook, Facebook, we say it's like a corkboard. There is 30 million UK mobile users each day, which seems like a staggering amount. It is quick and easy to engage with content. And it's more about absorbing it rather than interacting. Twitter is more for interacting, and Facebook is more scroll through, look at, read, maybe like, and things like that. You can share information with an audience that will read it passively. So maybe it's your thoughts of the day, things like that, but it might be, I have a community event and look at this is happening, we're doing this. So it's great to share flyers and information about events. And they've got a huge audience base. So it's great to try and sort of get your message out there to a lot of different people. So this is just our Near Neighbours, the Facebook for Near Neighbours. So a vocabulary checklist. A Facebook page is what organisations use to represent themselves on Facebook. If you as an individual have a Facebook page, it's not a Facebook page, it's a profile. So you think of yourself as, this is my profile, this is mine, it's a profile. A tag is a social media name preceded by the @ symbol. So for example, at nearneighbours.co.uk. So that is basically, in part of me posting on Facebook, I might say at nearneighbours.co.uk, and that turns it into a link that someone can click, and then they can see my profile. To share, so on Facebook, you can share things. So for example, I am interested in something that BBC News, I follow BBC News, for example. I'm interested in sharing something that an article. So what you can do is you can choose to share it with your friends and your family on your timeline, but still giving BBC News credit. So that is called a share. So you can share things that aren't your own, but it also gives the other person credit. And a like is a like button. It's a thumbs up. It says, I like this. And as with all sort of social media, we always say, like things with caution. So for example, it's less of a problem in, personal accounts, but if you have a work account or a community group account and you like something and it isn't in line with the views of the organization, someone might say, oh, the Saha group, for example, liked something which is politically against everything we stand for. Why is that? So just be a little bit careful. And you can also private message. So you can send messages like a direct message to an individual, just like you can normally. Okay, so we're going to go on to Twitter. And so if you want to tag someone in a tweet, another group, you would use, in Facebook, you go at nearneighbours.co.uk. In Twitter, it's a dot, then @ nearneighbours.co.uk. I know it's a little bit extra, but it's just to be mindful of this. And obviously we're going through this presentation. I can imagine you're not necessarily going to remember everything, but just be aware that that's how it works. In terms of Twitter, some facts for you. There are 12.6 million UK users, politicians, faith leaders, academics, businesses, and local activists. It's more serious and has interactions and conversations. It is national and international, and you can follow others, you can use hashtags, you can retweet. So just like we had a Facebook share, you can actually share someone's Twitter post. So if, for example, you thought that there was some message from a particular, group, and you thought that's really great, I'm going to share this with you can share, and it's called retweeting. You might want to choose Twitter because it's good to have conversations on, and it's text-based mostly, although you can add an image just to get people's general interest. A tweet is a word, so this is just vocabulary. A tweet is a word for a Twitter post, and it's no more than 280 characters. So you can't write a whole essay on it, it's just a short one. So a handle is the name you're known by on social media. So that's a little bit of a strange concept to think about. So if on Facebook I am Tara Atwaria, my handle on Twitter would be Tara Atwaria, but it's just, that's the word they use it, a handle, and you have to you include the @ sign, so it would be @Tara Atwaria. Okay, a retweet is what we discussed before. It's similar to a Facebook share. And a hashtag, just remember the waffle sign, is a tool that allows you to tap into a conversation that's happening. So for example, by using @Interfaith Week, everyone who's looking at that same topic and that same conversation is going to see your post. Okay, what question have we got? Okay, so I can see Nilesh has asked about privacy settings. So privacy settings are within your account settings. If perhaps you let me know whether, so I'm referring to Nilesh's question, if this is what we can do, is perhaps I will answer your question and all questions in one email, and I'll share it with Smita, and they can share it with you all, because actually there is a certain setting you need to adjust within Twitter to sort of increase your privacy. Same with Facebook, you can increase your privacy. Same with Instagram, you can make your account private. That means people have to send you an invite, or you have to send them an invite, and they have to accept it. So that way, for example, on Instagram, I have an open account because I'm fine with that. But if for some people I might want to look at their photos, I have to request. There's a button you can use to request it, and they have to say yes or no, allowing you that control, because I can completely understand why you maybe don't want your children's photos shared with everyone, for example. Hi, has anyone got any questions on that point?
I was just going to say, whilst people think of the questions, that the information you're giving is really good. So people who are already on this handles, as it were,
Yes.
Facebook, they can certainly find it very helpful. The ones who aren't, because it's still something that everybody may not quite use. And in future, we have the details planned as well, where they can actually open an account, because some of these things will be here to stay for a little while longer.
Yes.
So it will be good in future. So the ones who haven't quite got Instagram accounts or Twitter will certainly look that in the future. But the information you're giving us is really helpful, Tara. So just bear with us for the ones who may find it perhaps.
So usually, so with Instagram and all the social media accounts, there are options to tweak your settings to increase it to high privacy. Facebook have a very, very lengthy settings options. It's unnecessarily lengthy because obviously they want to capture your data, because they want to try and sell you things. So that's not to try and put any of you off. Just be aware that they do it in subsections, so you can have different levels of privacy for different things. So it's a little bit more complicated, but I'll happily send you some screenshots and a little explanation to Smita, and I'm happily to share that with you. So rest assured, there is ways of increasing your privacy, because I can completely understand why people don't want to share everything. So if we look at Instagram,
હવે તારા હવે હમણાં vocabulary જે આ social media માં વપરાય ને એ તમને કહેશે ને તો એમાં પણ તમને ઘણું information મળશે એટલે ભલે તમારી પાસે account સત્યના હોય ના હોય વાપરતા હોય ના વાપરતા હોય પણ હમણાં જે તમને information આવશે ને એ તમને સાંભળ્યું હશે એ બધી terminology એટલે તમને definitely કામ તો લાગશે જ. Yeah, go ahead, Tara. Thanks.
okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. So Instagram has 16.7 million monthly active users in the UK, and they're largely young people. It's entirely based on colorful images with the option to include text. And there's 700 million global monthly users. So it's just to get your head around the idea that this is absolutely huge, just like all the social media platforms, but this is more image based. So it all depends on what you want to use social media for. Some people, they want to connect to friends and family. Some people, they just want to have a conversation. So that might be Twitter, and they want to be involved in maybe politics or, you know, part of bigger conversations. But Instagram is pictures, and you may have heard on the news about influencers. Influencers are people who have built up a reputation for knowledge and expertise on a specific topic, and their regular posts generate large followings of enthusiastic, engaged young people. Engaged people, not necessarily young people, but largely young people. So an influencer is someone who people think of as an expert. That doesn't necessarily mean they are an expert. And I feel like I need to explain this. So for example, there was a lot of misinformation regarding the pandemic. Some of it has been proven, some of it hasn't been proven, but some of these influencers, they're seen as experts, but they may not actually be an expert. So our advice is, you know, check who's giving you this information and fact check things a little bit, because social media has quite a bit of a bad reputation for people sharing all sorts of things. Whether it's true or not is a little bit questionable. So just have that in the back of your mind, you know, that there is something called influencers. They have huge followings, and just because someone has 2 million followers does not mean what they're saying is right. You know, you have your own mind, do your own checking, but you know, just be aware of that. So you might hear about filters. A filter is a photographic filter that you can apply to your photos. A direct message is the same as a Facebook private message. That is where nobody but that individual is going to see it. So you can do private messaging on there as well. TikTok is quite fun. It is similar to Instagram, where you can follow people to see their posts. Whilst it also has a For You post, which is all sort of videos that TikTok or the algorithm behind TikTok thinks that you will like. So it will suggest you things. So if you are predominantly looking at, hello, was that a question? There might have been background noise, sorry about that. So if, for example, you know, you have, if you are predominantly looking at sort of a particular type, a genre of film, or your interests are a particular type of lifestyle, whether it be health, beauty, whatever it is your interest, you'll have the page that you can look at who you're following, and then you'll have a collection of videos on another page which are suggestions for you effectively. It is all videos, and these are a maximum length of 3 minutes. So strangely enough, it's actually young people, it was found out during the pandemic, young people in particular were getting a lot of their financial information, so Bitcoin and everything else, from TikTok, which is something that a few years ago, you know, wouldn't have even been something to consider. But it's just worthwhile noting, just like with Instagram, you get TikTok influencers. These are experts on lifestyle, culture, politics, whatever it is, and they exist within this field as well. And just like with Instagram, it's worthwhile just being mindful of whether or not they are actually worth, you know, considering their views as expert advice or not. So TikTok has 12 million monthly active users in the UK, largely young people. It has 100 million global monthly users, and it's a format around short videos on any topic. An influencer, so the same as on Instagram, are people who built a reputation for knowledge and expertise on a specific topic. These posts generate large amounts of enthusiastic, engaged young people. The For You is the videos suggested by TikTok, which is different to your following page. And a sound, so sounds can trend on TikTok. So these are short audio clips and that you hear in the background of some of the videos. And I am very aware that on TikTok, we also the videos sometimes end up in WhatsApp. So you may actually have received videos which are clips from TikTok, which all have the same music behind it. So that is what we would refer to as a sound. And this is the last slide, and then we can have a break because I appreciate there's been lots of talking. So if our tips for engaging with others is to tag other organizations, and make sure your social media throughout your content. So this is more if you're part of a community group or a small business, or you're trying to promote an event, for example. It may just be a coffee morning, but just to try and link to all your different social media channels. To share and retweet posts from other people's profiles, to try and connect with people, just being mindful of who you're connecting to and why. And be open to having conversations with your, whether it's a follower, a supporter, a friend, a family member, just be open to having conversations, because some people choose to have conversations on social media and some people don't. But, if someone is repeatedly, say a family member has commented on a photo, just continue the conversation. It's just nice. And make sure you make use of hashtags. And if you're having a coffee morning, so for example, you might say Saha coffee morning, and you might have it as a hashtag, for example, to sort of promote it and to reach out to other organizations. So we're going to have a 5-minute break here. I'm just having a look at the questions before we're gone. Okay. I've noticed it.
Yeah. Tara, we will also do a polling before we break up.
Yes, that will be wonderful.
So
I apologize for my mug, by the way. I just noticed. I'm sorry, that's not the most professional.
No problem at all. Dara, could you load the polling questions, please?
So one sec, I'm having a look. So Ashok's comments that Instagram is mostly people sharing photos of holidays, etc. So that is true, but it doesn't have to. So if you could quickly answer, so all of you on the call, if you could kindly answer the poll very quickly, and then I will get back to Ashok's answer right now. So
એ લોકોના ઓર્ગેનાઇઝેશન માટે આ બ્રેકડાઉન થોડું ઇમ્પોર્ટન્ટ છે, એટલે તમે ખાલી પ્લીઝ આમાં કોઓપરેટ કરીને 100% પોલિંગ. જો કોઈને પોલિંગ ના ફાવતું હોય તો કેબલ is there as well in the chat. So you can ask us or you can call me straight away. But otherwise, we would appreciate કે તમે excellent. Can we have more people?
Thank you. Wonderful. Thank you so much. So the reason we do polling is because so we can continue doing these courses for free. We'd like to know who's attending. Are we targeting it correctly? What do we need to change? There'll also be an invitation to do a survey at the end, which is optional, but we really appreciate your feedback and knowing what works and what doesn't work. So I'm actually just going to take that snapshot so we know. Fantastic. So we just have a spreadsheet, we just keep an eye of who's attending our courses and why. So Ashok's comment, which I think is to an extent true. So Ashok says, I've noticed that Instagram is mostly people sharing photos of holidays and things. This is It depends who you're following. So for example, if I was following loads of people interested in music, for example, I would see lots of music. So social media is a lot what your attention is towards. So your friends and family might share music, but if you, for example, like pets or you're interested in art, you will see more pets and art. So, and Twitter is a lot of political news, politicians, complaints about products. That's all completely true. But Twitter doesn't have to just be that. It doesn't, I think there is a, Twitter can get quite negative. So I think you've probably heard about terms such as Twitter trolls, which are people who are behind their keyboards, you know, free from consequence, saying different things, but it doesn't have to be like that. It depends what you're honing in on. So if, for example, I'm interested in Twitter and I am following popular music, then I'll get lots of stuff to do with popular music. If I'm following stuff like politicians, I'll get lots of politics. So just sort of bear that in mind. And TikTok can be a bit brainwashing. I think you can get caught in a, I sometimes call it like a black hole, is whereby you can just keep watching. So it's all about self-discipline and focusing on what it is you're interested in. So just sort of bear that in mind. And Keval's point, let's have a look. Each social media platform has its own unique selling point. I agree. Fantastic. So I think what we should do here now is we should have a 5-minute break. So we'll make it a 7-minute break. That means you can get a cup of tea, and I will join you back here at 5 o'clock if that's all right.
Yeah.
So I'll see you all shortly.
Yeah, sure. That's fine, Tara. Go ahead and hope the score is doing well. The rest of you, તમે લોકો break હમણાં લઈ શકશો કારણ કે આ થોડું heavy topic હતું. પણ it's heavy in the sense કે ઘણા બધા વાપરે છે, ઘણાને વાપરવાનું છે. As Keval and Dhara said કે futureમાં આપણે step by step create કરશું. જો તમારી પાસે ના હોય તો Instagram account, Twitter account તમને interest હોય તો. અને secondly, TikTok તો આપણે પહેલા કર્યું હતું, as you know. અને બધાના પ્લસીસ ને માઇનસીસ હોય છે. અત્યારના કોવિડમાં જો આપણી પાસે ઝૂમ ના હોત તો આપણે લોકો શું કરત એ પણ ક્વેશ્ચન છે. આપણે કેવી રીતના આપણા બેનિફિટ માટે વાપરવું અને આપણને બ્રેઇન વોશ કે જે અશોકભાઈ લખ્યું છે ના થાય એ આપણા ઉપર છે. So જેટલું તમારો ટાઈમ અને બેઠા રહી આટલી બધી વાર તો એ નો ગુડ. એટલે એ આપણી જવાબદારી ને રિસ્પોન્સિબિલિટી બને છે. પણ Keval is still in the chat, so if anybody wants to, Tara, please go ahead and have a little breather, dear.
Exactly, that's fine.
Yeah.
I will see you all in 5
Yeah,
minutes.
at 5 o'clock. Yeah, that's fine.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, everybody.
You've done a grand job. Thank you.
Take care. Bye.
Yeah. So બીજા બધાને હું તો અહીંયા છું જેને કોફી ને ચાય ને લેવું હોય કે કમ્ફર્ટ બ્રેક તો ગો હેડ. પણ કેવલ છે આપણી સાથે, ધારા છે, કિરીટ છે, હું છું. કોઈને કાંઈ પણ બીજા ક્વેશ્ચન્સ હોય તો પ્લીઝ કે કાંઈ બી પૂછવું હોય, શેર કરવું હોય તમારું. લાસ્ટ વીકે તમે ધારાએ આપણને 2 વસ્તુ બતાડી હતી which was really helpful as well. તો એ પણ તમે વાપર્યું કે નહીં. So let's જેને ના બ્રેક જોઈતી હોય તો અને કોફી સાથે પીતા પીતા વાત કરવી હોય. આજે થોડા ઓછા પીપલ છે કારણ કે બહુ બધી એક્ટિવિટીઝ ચાલુ છે. સ્પોર્ટ્સ પણ આટલું બધું છે. So go ahead, let's hear. Gajendrabhai, it's lovely to have you with us today. I'm so happy that you have joined. Sushila, you always practice a lot. Hasu Bhabi, tame last week nu vapryu ke nahi? Kokila Bhabi? So let us have Suresh, Surekha Ben aje nathi na apni sathe ya. So Raksha Ben, Saroj Ben, let's hear you all, please. Tamara koni પાસે Facebook account છે, please પેલા એ બધા સેજ આવીને કહેશો. Go ahead. બધાને unmute કરી દઈએ છે. Keval, can we unmute everybody, please? And Chandrakant Bhai, go ahead. You've got your hand raised.
સ્મિતા બેન,
હા, બોલો Chandrakant Bhai.
સપોઝ તમારી પાસે 2 કે 3 ફેસબુક ના એકાઉન્ટ બાય મિસ્ટેક થઈ ગયા હોય, how you can make sure that you can delete them, and bring it into one account?
Right. Keval, over to you, our technical guru, and Dhara. Keval, are you with us? Dara, are you with us? I think they were both.
Yes, Mitaben.
હા આપણા ચંદ્રકાંતભાઈ નો ક્વેશ્ચન છે કે બે ત્રણ ફેસબુક એકાઉન્ટ હોય તો આપણે કેવી રીતના ડિલીટ કરી શકાય કાં તો ડિલીટ કરી શકાય.
આપણે ફેસબુક અકાઉન્ટ ડિલીટ કરવું હોય તો એના માટે આપણી પાસે પાસવર્ડ આઈડી પાસવર્ડ બંને હોવા જોઈએ. Then only we will be able to delete it. Secondly, કે તમે સેટિંગ્સ ની અંદર જઈ અને ડીએક્ટિવ અકાઉન્ટ કરી શકો છો જે 1 month પછી ઓટોમેટિકલી ડિલીટ થઈ જશે. So if you have all the ID password you can do it, but if you do not have ID password then you do not have any other option.
ઓકે ધારા બેટા તું બાબા સાથ જાઓ. આપણે ચંદ્રકાંતભાઈ did you hear that you need to go and deactivate your account? ચંદ્રકાંતભાઈ
Yeah, but say for example તમે પાસવર્ડ ભૂલી ગયા હોય તો
તો ત્યાં આગળ ફોરગોટ પાસવર્ડ નો એક ઓપ્શન અવેલેબલ છે આપણી પાસે. તો એનાથી આપણે પાસવર્ડ રિકવર કરવાનો ટ્રાય કરવાનો. If we are able to recover the password then we will be able to delete it. But if we are not if we have lost the account and આપણી પાસે ID password recovery માં બી કોઈ ઓપ્શન નથી તો પછી આપણે કશું ના કરી શકીએ. એવું કરી શકીએ કે we can report the profile તો Facebook ઓટોમેટિકલી બેન કરી દેશે એ પ્રોફાઇલને. So we have this all options. First option કે આપણે ID પાસવર્ડ હોવો જોઈએ તો આપણે સેટિંગ્સ અંદરમાં અવેલેબલ છે. એ જરૂર પડશે તો હું તમને ડિટેલમાં એક વખત બતાવીશ કે કયા ઓપ્શન્સમાં જઈને તમે ડીએક્ટિવ કરી શકો છો તો એમાંથી તમે કરી શકો. સેકન્ડ ઓપ્શન છે તો તમારો પાસવર્ડ ખોવાઈ ગયો હોય તો તમારે પાસવર્ડ રિકવરી ઓપ્શન એક હોય છે લોગિન કરો ત્યારે રિકવર માય પાસવર્ડ. તો ફોરગોટ પાસવર્ડ હોય તો એ ઓપ્શન ટ્રાય કરી જોવાના. જો એનાથી બી પાસવર્ડ રિકવર ના થાય બરાબર છે અને અકાઉન્ટ ના ખુલે તો આપણે ડીએક્ટિવ નહીં કરી શકીએ. આપણી પાસે લાસ્ટ ઓપ્શન એવું છે કે જેટલું બની શકે આપણે પ્રોફાઇલને રિપોર્ટ કરાવવી પડે. એ હું બતાવીશ જ્યારે આપણે ફેસબુક લઈશું ત્યારે કે હાઉ ટુ રિપોર્ટ અ પ્રોફાઇલ. તો આપણે એવું કહી શકીએ ફેસબુકને કે આ બહુ બધા લોકો એ પ્રોફાઇલને રિપોર્ટ કરશે ને તો ઓટોમેટિકલી ફેસબુક એ અકાઉન્ટ બેન કરી નાખશે. સપોઝ ફેસબુકમાં એવો ઓપ્શન છે કે સપોઝ કોઈ સ્પેમિંગ કરતું હોય કાં તો તમારું કોઈએ ડુપ્લિકેટ અકાઉન્ટ ક્રિએટ કર્યું હોય તો તમે તમારા ફ્રેન્ડ 50-100 જણા જો એને રિપોર્ટ કરે એ અકાઉન્ટને તો ઓટોમેટિકલી ફેસબુક એને બેન કરી નાખે.
Okay, thank you so much, Dara. I think Dara is out and about today. It seems Saturday evening India. We have Sushila from London and Rajni and Bina saying that they do have Facebook accounts, but they rarely use it. I think I'm the same. It is time consuming. પણ જો તમને એકલી ગુજરાતી રેસિપીઝ એકલી ઇન્ડિયન વીગન તમે કોઈ ટાઉનમાંથી આવ્યા હોય કોઈ આફ્રિકા કે કોઈ સિટી કે વિલેજ ઇન્ડિયાથી તો એટલા બધા ગ્રુપ્સ હોય છે કે તમને કાંઈ પણ ઇન્ફોર્મેશન જોઈતું હોય તો ફેસબુકમાં તો તમારા તમે જસ્ટ ટાઈપ કરો ને you'll have so many different groups that you get information from. So Narendra Gora says, hey, from Manchester, he does have a Facebook account. I think some of you are quite active, which is good as well. અને ફેમિલી રજનીભાઈ ને બીનાબેને કીધું કે ફેમિલી ના ફોટોસ ને છોકરાઓ મૂકે. I mean જેની ત્યાં છોકરાઓ હશે યંગ જનરેશન હશે તો ફેસબુક ઇન્સ્ટાગ્રામ ટ્વિટર એ તો લોકો સાંભળતા જ હશે અને તમને કદાચ ડાયરેક્ટલી યંગ ચિલ્ડ્રન ફોટો નહીં મોકલે પણ તમારે એ લોકોનું કાંઈ પણ જોવું હોય કે ક્યાં ગયા હતા શું કર્યું તો તમને તરત જ ફેસબુક માંથી બધું કાં તો ઇન્સ્ટાગ્રામ માંથી મળી જશે. એટલે ધારા સેટ ફ્યુચરમાં જેની પાસે ના હોય તો we have certainly planned કે આપણે એક સેશન ઇન્ડિવિજ્યુઅલી ડિટેલમાં સેટઅપ પણ કરીએ અને મોર પ્રોફેશનલી ડિટેલ વાપરીએ જેમ કે આ ચંદ્રકાંતભાઈના ક્વેશ્ચન્સ હતા. સો હોપફુલી ઇન ફ્યુચર પણ તમે લોકો આપણા વોટ્સએપ ગ્રુપમાં જે પણ ના જોડાણા હોય પ્લીઝ સેન્ડ મી યોર નંબર અને કીપ ઓન પોસ્ટિંગ એમાં કે તમને એક્ઝેક્ટલી શું કરવું છે. સો ધેટ વે વી કેન ટ્રાય એન્ડ પ્રાયોરિટાઇઝ કે કયું આપણે હા રશ્મિભાઈ and Binaben says that they've joined their old school group. Excellent. It will be so many memories like that. And Facebook ne બધું એટલું instant હોય છે કે તમને તરત it's just there, you know, so without too much trouble. So we're moving on to 5 p.m. Welcome to people who have just recently joined. We've got Diverting to Digital, Tara from that organization of Near Neighbors. Tara, are you back with us?
I am indeed. So I'm
Excellent.
here.
Indeed. We love your Diverting to Digital title because everything has just become literally overnight online. Life has become digital. And as you saw from the polling question, that majority of our members are certainly over 60 as well. And so it's really benefiting them.
Oh, I'm glad to hear
yeah.
that. I think it is really interesting. One thing I didn't realize until recently, I'm running this course, that actually a lot of medical things is becoming online. So actually it's creating health inequality for the older people generation who perhaps are less tech savvy. And that's one thing I hadn't considered, because one thing is like even booking hospital appointments, this, that, and the other, they'll send you a link to your phone and you have to do it like that. I didn't realize until recently how much of a trouble it actually is in some cases.
Indeed. I mean, that is precisely why we have started these things, to really work with our senior and elderly people to support them to become a little bit digital savvy. And in future, we've certainly got things like that planned as well, to actually work with them and take them through, whether it's shopping, whether it's privacy settings, as you said, whether it's health and all the other apps as well that remind them to take medicine. So there's quite, and you're more than welcome to come back and do the health one, Tara.
It's really interesting, and it's really it's a lot of these things are not straightforward and they're not instinctual, and that's the trouble. It's like certain things, yes, you can say your phone is designed to be user friendly, but some things like some of the NHS apps are not, and it just seems surprising that they're not designed in a better way. And I imagine as time goes on they'll become more user friendly, or we will become more used to them, but that doesn't, you know, it's bit by bit. I mean,
we did Siri and Google Assistant and Bixby and things like, and even just people speaking found it so useful that they didn't have to type. They could just talk and things were happening. So all these things that you're saying are really helping people.
I'm glad. And I think it's sometimes you just need people to just have the time and sort of spend time on it. And so Near Neighbours at the moment, because we've given money for projects for digital inclusion previously. At the moment, we don't have, because we have very set criteria and people can apply for grants. But if we do get more money for digital inclusion and things like that, I will be in touch, or Beth will be in touch, because we get all our money for through you know, the government department is DLUC now, but it used to be MCHLG. So that's one of the government departments used to give us money to give grants to community groups. We don't have money for funding on digital exclusion at the moment, but we're hoping to in future to have money, because actually this is an area where we as an organization can help communities to help themselves and get sort of, you know, even if it is you know, like you hire out a library book, for example, you can have a system whereby people hire out, you know, and borrow a device and they'll learn how to use certain things, or you have classes. So yes, anyway, we'll move on to this.
Tara, just quickly, you'll be pleased to know that most of our sessions are sponsored by all our participants from time to time. Keval and some of our just doing things honorary, but we have a trainer from India, Tara, which supports us very well despite the time difference. But in future, I mean, we'll be more than happy to have you guys again to share your skills with us.
No, brilliant. So we'll move on to this, but yes, that's just a sort of a side point. So we're going to look at creating content. So creating content to use on social media. For example, you may have a photo, you might want to have a caption, you might want to have a slogan. This is more for, do you, amongst the sort of people here today, would you, Smita, you might know this, is there a need to produce like flyers and posters promoting community events and things like that?
Yeah, we have quite a few people like Chandrakant Pai in Crowley. He is a member of a lot of national, local, and several different organizations. We have Bhupen Pai and others as well. And yes, from time to time, they will have a need for producing good posters and editing video and things. So it will be good to
Yeah.
just run through
So
that.
this is actually something for free, and it's something we actually use here at Near Neighbours. So that's why we're sort of bringing it up so you can hear about it. So we use something called Canva, and it allows you.
તું તારે જ્યાં જવું હોય ત્યાં ઉતાર દઉં છું હું ના યાર જઈએ છે બહાર તારે જવું હોય તો જા કે
You can meet yourself. I'm not
આ
sure
તો
who
જા
you're
તારે એક્ટિવા લઈને જવું હોય જે લઈને જવું હોય જઈને જા
I think Dhara,
ત્યારે ક્યાં ગુડાવું છે એ બોલતો યાર જગ્યા તો પકડી નથી
What we're going to do is we're going to keep going, and if the person is, yeah, the background noise has stopped, so thank you. So yeah, so Canva is a free video and image digital editing tool, and what you can do is not just for producing stuff for social media. You can say, for example, you're doing a coffee morning or you're at a community centre and you want to produce a flyer, for example, and if you have that creative mindset, it is a fantastic tool. So we're going to watch, like, I think it's 2 minutes long, this video, just to give you an overview of what it can do for you for free. And if you're someone like me who's a bit creative, you can design stuff just to sort of, so say for example you want to do a bespoke card or something like that. So it's a 2-minute video, but I think it's a good idea to know what is available for free, and it's very user friendly.
Round the homepage and learn how to find what you need to start designing. With Canva, you can design anything. There are thousands of professional templates to get you started. You can explore templates in a few ways. Start by typing keywords in the search bar. Browse by document theme, or scroll down the page and be inspired. If you have something specific in mind, you can enter the custom dimensions here. In the top menu, you can discover templates by theme, explore photo and icon libraries, printed products, apps, and more, or access Design School, where you can learn to use Canva and supercharge your design skills. The sidebar helps you organize your designs. You'll find all the designs you created in this tab, and designs shared with you by your team in this one. Creating a team is easy. Just add the people you want to design with, assign their role, and invite them. You can also create folders for designs, photos, content, and ideas to keep your projects organized. Canva's homepage makes it easy for you to design anything.
So that is a really quick video, and it's just to sort of give you an idea of what you can use social media. It's partly connected to social media and partly isn't. So the thinking is, the reason I've included it is just to give you that sort of, maybe you want to be creative with your social media, maybe you want to have captions, maybe you want to create posters, whatever it is, just to let you know that this tool exists. It's free, and I think most people who can use Microsoft Office or anything like that will find it quite easy. So for example, this would be your homepage, and then you would literally click that button and you would design, so it will give you all the templates, everything for you. So so we're looking at charity. It will give you you can drag and drop different things from the left hand side into it. So just bear that in mind. It may not be appropriate, but it may be something you want to consider when doing, if you are maybe as a community group, you're looking to increase your members, you might say, I need something to capture people's interest. If it may be even just wishing people happy Diwali, for example, but you want to put your organization's logo in there so people remember you. So this just helps you to do it in a really quick and easy way. and it's quite unintimidating. So that's just to bear in mind, that's a thing. So this is a little bit of fun, but I've added it in for a reason. So have any of you seen the below images before?
Keval, can you unmute everybody, please?
Feel free to let me know. Have you seen any of the images before? You might not have, but my guess is you've seen some of them or something similar. So like the image of the cat, I'm sure we've all seen cat images online. Or what about on WhatsApp? Have you seen any of these?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so these are what we call memes. An internet meme, which is more commonly known as a meme, is an idea, behavior, or style that is spread via the internet. They're often through social media, and they're especially for humorous purposes. What is considered a meme may vary across different communities of the internet and is subject to change over time. So internet memes are considered part of internet culture. They spread from person to person via social media, blogs, direct email, or news sources. So for example, you may not consciously think about it, but every day you are or every week or every month in your WhatsApp groups or in your social media, you're sharing or the recipient of an image that is spreading. So it's an image with some humorous words. So you might be wondering why we're bringing this to you. So it's just to think about those images and those messages and those memes that you're sharing. So I will expand on this a bit. So memes, so 74% send memes to make people laugh or smile. 53% send them to get you to react to something. And 55% of 13 to 35-year-olds send memes every week, and 30% send them every day. So it's just to have this in your mind, because actually there are some pros and cons of sending those things. So we've all been, I imagine, the recipient of something that got sent to us that we didn't think was funny. Has anyone got an example of something that they got sent that they thought was either really funny or really wasn't funny? Feel free to unmute yourself. Can you think of anything? Okay, so
we all get them on WhatsApp all the time, every day.
exactly. I completely understand, but sometimes they're not funny. So I don't know whether you remember at the start of the pandemic, there were some that were actually not funny. It just didn't make sense what you were getting. And actually when people started dying, then people stopped sending those because they realized they weren't funny. So the idea is, so when you're using social media, whilst WhatsApp isn't a social media sphere, some of the material that's, you know, memes exist in WhatsApp as well as social media. And if you're wondering what the difference is from social media and WhatsApp is not as public. So WhatsApp, you have to consent to be part of a group. It is not so widely shared. So if we are talking about Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and you're sharing things, just to be mindful of, you know, memes are great. They're really fun. It's a fun way to engage with others. It's potential to get your post noticed. If you're posting on behalf of a wider organization, you might say, I want to add something funny. I want people to be interested so that they will share this because I want to raise awareness about something, or I want people to know my group exists. It can make your post more memorable, but also we say be cautious when using memes. So humor is subjective. To reduce the likelihood of things being taken the wrong way, you need to think carefully about what you're posting and how it can be interpreted. So don't just frivolously forward, share, think about what it is. You need to know your audience. Who are you sharing it with? So your humor might be different to the humor of the younger generation or the older generation. You know, it depends who you're sharing it with. So just know your audience And it is not always appropriate, and just consider the wider political and socio-economic climate. So that's just a very fancy way of saying, consider what's going on in the world, because it might not be funny, or other people might interpret it badly based on their circumstances. And memes can sometimes be connected to a subculture. So if you're using a meme that you found online, just be a little bit mindful of what you're sharing and where it came from originally, because you might be inadvertently be sharing something with a different meaning to what you intend. So you might think that what you're sharing is just something funny to do with a cat, for example, and actually it's something to do with gun control in the US, for example. I don't, you know, that's just to have an idea of what it is you're sharing, where it came from and why. So just to be mindful of that. But obviously there is an element of playfulness, so most people won't take it badly. But in particular, if you're part of a community group, you might want to just veer towards the safer options and avoid sort of controversial issues. And Nilesh has commented about copyright. So memes tend to be more sort of in the public domain. And I actually, I think a lot of it is just public images. I don't think, so if you're interested on Google Images, there is a way of filtering, and it will show you which ones have copyrights attached to it. And some of them are being so widely shared, I imagine there are breaches to copyright, but the organizations or the producers of them are not going to fight everyone. So there are issues to do with copyright as well. So if it's on a public sphere, maybe not. Smita, you're sharing something.
Yeah, because every day, everybody gets so many messages on their WhatsApp. So, but I didn't know that. Is this a meme then?
So that's just a good morning message. So that's not necessarily a meme. Memes tend to be humorous, but if that was, so yeah, I get lots of these as well. Deb, you know, that wouldn't be necessarily a meme. If it was something funny, say for example, I've used the cat example quite a bit.
Yeah.
If it was, say, a cartoon character or a clip from a film with something humorous written on top, that would sort of be that combination of image and humor.
Okay. Okay.
So we actually have 15.
And this is just a message, is it?
That's just a message. That's not necessarily a meme, but a meme is usually funny. But also, as the definition says, there's a scope within it. So essentially, what is a meme varies between subcultures. So if it was funny and something being shared, we would call it an internet meme.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so as Cable said, it's a meme is a photo with text on top, and it's usually humorous. So we only have 15 minutes. So Smita, do you think it'll be worthwhile us looking at websites, or do you think it'll be best to have it as questions? I'm happy with it either way.
How long is the website thing?
About 5-10 minutes.
5-10 minutes, yeah.
Maybe 5 minutes. It's up to you.
Yeah, I think we've had consistent presence. So and there's quite a mixture of a group. So maybe we will, if you're not too tired, we'll just continue.
Absolutely fine. So yes, so websites, we're going to have a very brief look at producing your own website. This is not going to be necessarily for everyone. So there's many reasons why it might be a good idea to have a website. So this is more based on maybe community groups. Individuals can have a website. I had a website and I didn't get many people going to it, so I switched to an Instagram account for the same thing. So it depends what it is you're trying to do. So if you're trying to sell products, or if you are trying to prove that an organization is, say for example, you're a community organization, sometimes people sort of have this, whether it's right or wrong, they might expect you to have a website, because they'll expect you to be on social media, they'll expect you to have a website, but it's not always the case. So it's just what's appropriate for you, but it helps you find new audiences and sell things, and you can show people your success. So if, for example, you've done, you're a community group and you have had a series of events Yes, you can put it on social media, but you can also put it on your website, especially if some of the people who go to your community events are not on social media. So it doesn't mean that they're excluded. So just have a little think about that. So it may be something you want to do just personally. You might decide you want to set up a website. So if you want to think about it, so your domain name is your web address basically. So for example, www.tesco.co.uk, the domain name is Tesco, or Amazon.com, petsathome.com, Money Supermarket. So that's your domain name. So if you are interested in setting up a website, you need to start with actually having a name. So whatever your name is going to be. So maybe it'll be Saha Group Leicester, for example, that would be your domain name. So if you are interested, there's a link in this presentation, which I'll send to you. And so if you think about a domain as a website equivalent to a physical address, just like when you have a GPS, you have a postcode, it allows your web browser to find your website. For example, nearneighbours.org.uk. A URL is a web address used to identify a specific place within your website. So for example, www.nearneighbours.org.uk/about. So just be aware of those terminology. Your content is the text and images. So anything on a website or anything you post on social media will be referred to as content. That isn't the same thing as the layout, because your layout is the styling of everything, but your content is the words and the images used. Your navigation. So sometimes you hear people say about, talk about web navigation. Your navigation is how you get around the site. So normally on most websites, the top bar along the top, the bar along the top and the bar on your left-hand side is the navigation. So that's the tools by which you go from page to page within the website. So for example, I might be going on to the website and I might be going about us, or I might be going to products, or I might be going to events, but that's a page within a wider website. So there are different website setup options. We are going to very briefly look at one. And I'm going to mention the others just so you know there's loads of different providers and different ways of doing it. But to not overwhelm, we're just going to look at briefly. There's something called Squarespace, which is one we're going to look at today. And it is really easy to use. And as the name implies, it's squares. The whole thing is built on a series of squares. And it's quite cost effective. So that's what we're going to look at today. But just so you know, there's other options. WordPress, for example, has a huge amount of customization. And if you are very much into design and very creative, it's a great option. And it also can be quite overwhelming. So that's why for an absolute beginner, Squarespace or Site123 are probably best, because Site123 is very minimal and is straightforward and user-friendly. So that's just to bear in mind.
Sorry to interrupt, let me just come in. તમે અમુક બધા જ આપણે જૈન સેન્ટરની વેબસાઇટ, વણી કાઉન્સિલની, ટેસ્કોની, સારા સેટ, બધાની જુદી જુદી વેબસાઇટ હોય છે. કોઈનો બિઝનેસ હોય તો બિઝનેસની પણ, અને વેબસાઇટથી જ બધું મોટે ભાગે કામકાજ ચાલતું હોય છે. તો જો વેબસાઇટ બનાવવી હોય તો હમણાં જે 4 ઓપ્શન સારાએ આપ્યા, સ્ક્વેરસ્પેસ, વર્ડપ્રેસ અને GoDaddy, અને બીજું લેફ્ટ હેન્ડ સાઇડ આઈ ફોરગેટ. તો એ તમે વાપરી શકો અને એમાંથી તમે બનાવી શકો. ડિફિકલ્ટ નથી, પણ કોઈ વખત ફ્યુચરમાં કોઈને લાગે કે લોકોનું નાનું ગ્રુપ છે, કાં તો નવું ગ્રુપ કરવું છે કે whatever, hopefully Keval and Dhara can make one for our group in future as well. આપણી own website જેમાં આપણે બધું પછી સ્ટોર કરી શકીએ. So એ અત્યારના એનું, અને આપણને સ્ક્વેરસ્પેસનો પેકેજ વાપરી અને કેવી રીતના વેબસાઇટ સેટઅપ કરવાની એનું હવે તારા બતાવે છે. Go ahead. Thanks, Sarah.
So this is probably, I think this is about a 3-minute video, and it can show you. So for some of those who are like overwhelmed by the idea of doing it, this is hopefully something to sort of make it. It's a really reassuring video. And actually one of my colleagues did it with the intention of showing you how easy it is. Obviously, you can, customize it to the nth degree, but if you just want a basic website, we'll just watch this video and hopefully it should make sense.
So we're just going to show you quickly how to set up a Squarespace website, which is one of the easiest to set up and it's one of the easiest to continue to use. So when we Google Squarespace, it's going to be the first thing that comes up, which is great. And then it will land on here and we get two options to get started. You've got the home page here or this button at the top. For your starting point, it will ask you to pick an area which you're looking to do. So if you're selling food, you're a local business, you're doing photography and so on, that's what you could have a look at those templates if you click on those. Alternatively, you could just scroll down and have a look at the different templates as a starting point. Let's set ourselves up as a local business just to see what is in there. And we'll get started with this. And it will ask you to set up their email and your first name and last name. So I'm just going to put mine in. And set up a password. You can save it or not save it, it's up to you at this point. Now that was very easy. That's our free setup. We've set up and made an account. The next step is choosing a title for our slide, our site, sorry. So let's say that we're setting up a parents group in Newcastle, or we've already run it one, we're looking to move online. So let's just call ourselves Newcastle Parents Group. I'm going to give you loads of tutorials and loads of support in terms of getting things going, but I'm going to show you how you can edit and move some pages as well as just that initial setup. Just got to get started. So with us picking that template, it's done most of that work for us already. We clicked on a template which was about yoga, so that's what the background pictures is, and we can see that we've got various different navigation bars, the title of our slides, and so on. And we're going to show you in the next bit how to edit that. But that's simply how it is to actually set.
So essentially, as you can see, we've gone from, sorry, I need to pause that. So we've gone from, I'll stop sharing. So in that clip we just saw, we've gone from logging in for the first time, selecting a template, and then it automates a lot of it for us. So when you actually, so if you are to use Squarespace, for example, it is really user-friendly and it does a lot of the work for you, which is one of the sort of benefits of using Squarespace. So if you are looking to sort of start getting started on doing a website, obviously there are other options available, and it depends how creative you're feeling, and sort of it's a question of creative combined with how tech savvy you are to what you want to do. But if you are using Squarespace, you essentially can just drag and drop information or cut and paste information and put it in there, and it is just as easy as my colleague in the video shared. So is there any questions whilst we're still here? I'm just reading the questions in the chat.
Mm-hmm. I think you've covered a lot, Tara. I really appreciate it, because there's just so much to learn and the time has just flown by. We had also included the web giving. Yeah, but I think that we're over, well, we're just coming up to finish.
If you have time, I'm happy to continue on the fundraising. It's entirely up to you and whether the needs of the group, or I can just share the resources with you afterwards. I'm open-minded.
I think I'll put it to people, if you're still okay for another 5 minutes, would you? Because that is increasingly becoming popular, fundraising online. So people who need to leave, I can understand. We aim to finish normally on time. Tara, you'll be interested to know, normally we have double the number, but our most regular ones, because there's so much going on,
Yeah.
haven't been able to join us because they've all said that there's quite a few things. So
Yeah,
people who
completely
need to
understand.
leave, we can understand, but those who want to, Tara, are you sure you're okay if we
Oh,
overrun?
I'm more than
Laura as well?
happy.
Yeah,
It's
Kevin,
no
are you
problem.
okay? Yeah,
Fine.
okay. Yeah, okay, then I think
think
it'll be helpful. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
it
we'll go
very
ahead. Thank you.
No, it very much depends on group to group. There's some groups are really strict with their timings, some are more flexible. One of the reasons perhaps time management hasn't been as good today is this is a bespoke session. So we customized what we normally do. So I probably overshot what we could cover.
No, we
in
have
time.
covered such a lot of ground, Tara. So you've done an excellent job and there's been so many positive comments. So no issues. We are more than grateful.
Well, thank you for that. So what we'll do the last bit on fundraising.
Excellent.
So just there's a little bit here on if you have a shop. This is more for those of you who are interested in having a website to have an online shop, or if you don't want to have a website, but you just want to sell things. So some people I know make handmade items and sell them on Etsy. So if you are interested in selling stuff online and you don't want a whole website, maybe you make candles or something like that, and you want to set up a small business. Etsy is a good selling platform for sort of small businesses who don't necessarily want or need a website. And you can also use Wix, and Wix allows you to advertise on social media should you so wish. There's obviously a charge associated with that, but it's just to be aware that if you are trying to sell things online, these are two quite popular options. Okay, so fundraising online. So why might you want to fundraise online? Well, actually, it turns out that, in terms of millennials, so I think millennials goes up to age 35 down to age 20 something. I think the definition of what a millennial is, so just a young person, but not relatively young person, they prefer to give online. And so does Gen X, and so do baby boomers. And it's around 55% of people choose and prefer to give money online at present. And most of these people with a younger age group, they prefer the thing that draws them to give money online is actually social media. So that's one of the reasons why social media is so valuable. So if you are looking to use social media to try and get donations, what we showed you earlier with Canva and making your images really pop and really stand out, and branding everything can be quite helpful, because a photo, if you're trying to advertise or trying to get people to give money for something, an image is one thing, but a branded image with maybe some text over the top, maybe a color theme or a border, that little extra something might get you noticed on social media. So just sort of bear in mind that I don't know what age group baby boomers are considered, but usually 50 plus are probably baby boomers. So everything, the younger age groups than that are all most likely to give if you actually use social media. And the older age groups are more likely to give if you email. So one thing that we haven't covered today is actually doing mail outs and doing newsletters and things like that. And we do have a course on that, or is a short part of a course. So if that's something interesting to your group, more than happy to cover that another day. But you can actually send out email mail outs. So obviously remembering, if you are emailing people directly, unlike with social media, there's more of a sense that you need to consider consent, and we're all familiar with the term GDPR, so General Data Protection. So just being aware that if you are storing people's names, email addresses, etc., have they consented to being contacted? So I know that's something that may sort of fall a bit lower down the priority, especially with community groups, but just bearing in mind that if someone is signed up to a mailing list, they can ask to be removed at any time. But yes, so for older age groups, consider having a newsletter, consider emailing people directly, because they may not be using social media as much, or they may not be as confident with it, so that might sort of attract them. So when you are fundraising online, there's how you get people to know that you want a donation, and then there's how you collect that money. So so you may recognize some of these links. So you've probably all heard of Just Giving. Someone's running a marathon, someone's climbing a mountain, somebody is doing some sort of a challenge usually. So this is it's a very reputable platform. So if for example you want to fundraise, you can open up a Just Giving page. They're a little bit expensive because they take up a certain amount of money as fees, which isn't great, but that's just generally how these companies operate, because they give you the platform and they look after everything to do with keeping the financial details of everyone secure, but in exchange they always expect a fee. So these vary. Total Giving is actually a free service, but it's not as recognized by donors. So if, for example, you saw an email saying, please donate via Total Giving, you might be quite rightly wanting to check, is this link genuine? Am I giving my bank details in the right place? So that's why it's not as popular, but it doesn't mean it's not a good link. And this is not a good site to get people to donate with. So just sort of bear that in mind as well. That you can do crowdfunder is where people give that's crowdfunding, where you get little bits of money. And same with GoFundMe, it tends to be smaller amounts of money and you encourage people to fundraise and give their money towards you that way. They have a processing fee, but unfortunately that is just the way these platforms make money. PayPal is also an option. It's simple to set up and it's reputable amongst donors and can be used in person and just and online. And it has a processing fee as well. So just bear in mind that these options sort of exist. Actually, I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back to this one. So different ways you can fundraise online. So you might choose that you want to have an online auction. So Zoom auctions are a thing. So that's an option for you. You could use Facebook or social media fundraisers. You could use, you could actually look, there's a link in this website to grant providers. So those are organizations that can provide you for a grant for your particular project. So Near Neighbours, part of what we do is be a grant provider. So depending if you meet our criteria, you can get money. But if you're actually looking, there's looking to sort of fundraise online and get money online, you can actually look at all different, grant providers online and see if there's a way that you can get money that way. You can do an e-appeal, which is another, so that's electronic appeal. So that's what I mentioned earlier about a newsletter or an email. So that's another way of doing crowdfunding. So asking everyone to donate small amounts and it becomes a big amount overall. And using online donation platforms, which we've just covered. So that's whereby you'll maybe have a social media platform or something like that, and you will say, please, click on this for our Just Giving page, and then you donate there. So that is
It's just mind-boggling.
Or is that, have I sort of given way too much information in a short period of time?
No, that is absolutely it's opened our eyes that there is just so much, and you so patiently explained it all as well. And I'm sure some people will have come across some of these, but it is the way forward because the real cash money and all that is decreasing. So
yes, it's saying, according to the stats on it, so if you consider, 39% of young millennials, are inspired to give by social media, and only 14% by cash would actually give cash. every age group is more likely to give online, over 50%. So it's just a way of thinking about it. But just like when we looked at social media and we said about your different audiences, know your audience and know what works for them, because your audience, you know, if you're looking at older audiences, maybe you want to use Facebook less than Instagram and TikTok. You might want to, you know, consider what's appropriate. You know, a Zoom auction might not work, but crowdfunding, £3, you know, everyone donates, maybe not crowdfunding, you know, a small amount of money might be more worthwhile.
Excellent, excellent. That is so informational. There's been a lot of positive comments, and I request all the people who have benefited for the session to actually on our WhatsApp group, please do let us have your views so I can forward that to Dara.
So what we can do is, Laura, are you still there? If you can put the link to our smart survey in the chat. I'm trying to find where our smart survey link is.
Yeah, it's there.
She put it in there.
Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Laura. So if you have a time, please, you know, feel free to give us your feedback, obviously suggestions for other sessions. On our Near Neighbours Hub, we do have more videos, more PowerPoints. We've recently added something to do with hybrid events. So hybrid events is whereby you have some face-to-face and some in person, and you combine it. So those people who can't attend in person, you know, are online, but those who can be are. So that is a new sort of thing that's sort of come up. Unfortunately, it doesn't present well as a presentation like this, because we found that trying to explain to people about, say, something quite technical like cables, you know, you need to connect, you know, the laptop to a screen, to a this, to a that, has become quite difficult. But there is step-by-step guides and there's explanations to all sorts of stuff on our Near Neighbours Hub. So I do recommend, if you have some time, have a little browse and see if there's something useful for you. But thank you so much for listening. And I appreciate we've gone like 10 minutes over, but thank you.
Tara, Laura, just one small request. The smart survey and also the Near Neighbours and digital, diverting to digital website. If you could kindly just forward that to my WhatsApp, Tara, and then I can put it on the WhatsApp group.
Of course, 100%.
That will really, that will be helpful. So once again, our most humble, sincere, heartfelt thanks to you and Laura.
You're welcome.
It really was a very diverse, and so much has been covered. Yeah. And I think there's been good interaction as well. Thanks to Keval as always. Dara was so busy. She had guests, her little one was crying. She had everything going, but she still always is dedicated and committed to us, all the way from India, Dara. And I'm sure people will agree that we would love to have you all back whenever, whether it's the newsletter or when your time permits. We would love to have you back.
Definitely.
I think so what we need to send you now is I need to send you, am I right, just to make sure I've covered all the questions. So it was to do with privacy on social media, so I'll send you some screenshots and things for that and a step-by-step. Is that right, Smita? If there's anything else sort of your group thinks about, say, afterwards, and there's any questions you want to forward to us, feel free to forward it on. It's no problem at all.
Absolutely. And because you have such a range of resource on your website, we'd love to share that with our group. We almost have more than 100 people on our WhatsApp group. So we'd like them to benefit. And it's just, as I said, today was quite an exception because there's far too much going on all around.
No problem at all.
But quality always counts, and it's really So once again, in our usual way, thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you very much.
Lovely to meet you.
Brilliant.
Take care. Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye all.
Thank
Have
you.
a
Bye.
good weekend.
Bye.
Much appreciated. Thank you. Thank you. Very nice.
Dara, it's okay now to end, dear, when you're ready.
We can. Whenever you say.
Okay. Ek second, bachchu bhai no number le lo.
937.
937. Okay, that's great. So that's fine, Tara. And if we could have the two Survey Monkey
Yeah.
and the on a WhatsApp group, please, Tara, that will really help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Rita, can you have my
well,
number?
Yeah, I'll make sure. Yeah, we've had issues this week, but we'll certainly. I mean, you are quite a businessman, Ashokbhai, એટલે તમને આ કઈ જરૂર નહીં પડે. આ મારે બધા seniors અહીંયા છે ને એમની માટે
Little bit
હોય
I
છે.
know, but not much. Now I'm retiring from business. That's why I don't know much of.
Yeah, you
I'm getting
really,
out of business now.
you're quite savvy. Yeah, sure. Okay, so Tara, I think we'll call it a day. Thank you, everybody. Sorry we went over, and hope to see you all next week back again with Tara. Thanks, Keval, for all the information and ideas. And we missed a lot of people today who had sent apologies as well. So hope to resume back again with our normal session next week. Thank you. But keep your
Thank you. Bye, Smita.
thoughts. Bye. Keep your thoughts coming on our WhatsApp group, please. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. All the best to you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Smitaman call you in some time. Yeah.
Ha. So if you want to end the session, Tara, that's fine now.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll end the session now.
Yeah, thank you.